Hey guys, Rollout here. Welcome back to Builder's Block. A bit of a mixed bag this week. I did another Lego set review, and then I mostly built a bunch of smaller things rather than making a lot of progress on my bigger projects. That was just kind of the vibe. Also, I think one of the Bricklink orders I made a few weeks ago is just straight up lost, which is super annoying, so I'm gonna have to get a refund and reorder all those parts before a couple of things finally get to be complete. If you want to help me out with Bricklink orders, consider supporting the show on Patreon. There's also a Builder's Block Discord server open to the public, so feel free to hop in there as well. Links in the description. Now, on with the show. So plot twist, instead of continuing my work on Dragoon, I decided to go ahead and build the fourth Beyblade Bit Beast, Dragoon, first. Or at least get a head start on it so that I can work on both of them simultaneously. I did this because it would be terrible if I completely built Dragoon, I had 3 of the 4 built, and then I just lost interest in the 4th. I couldn't come up with an idea for the 4th. Before I got any further with Dragoon, I wanted to start Dragoon so that I could be confident that all 4 of them would indeed be completed. Not only that, so that I can make sure all 4 of them are stylistically consistent with one another. I think that it's much easier for Dronzer and Dragoon to be built similarly just due to the nature of the way their heads look, and like they both have, 4 limbs and a long tail. I think that is easier, whereas with Dragoon and Dragoon, one's a big tiger, one is a big turtle. They're very, very different animals. And so I just think it would be beneficial to build them at the same time so that eventually all 4 of them can look great together. I'm really happy with the way Dragoon is turning out so far, and that's another reason that I wanted to get a head start on this before I continued with Dragoon, just so that I had something to look forward to, because I am happy with this, and I got it to a place where it should be easy to continue building it from here. I built the head, an armature so that it had articulation in the neck, and then I gave it a head start with the body with a lot of different connection points that I can build off of. One interesting thing here you'll notice about Dragoon is that he has gray eyes, and that's because the other 3 have white eyes, but obviously I can't give Dragoon white eyes because he's primarily white. They just get lost. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. Obviously, I'd like all 4 of them to match in that way. I already tried giving the other 3 gray eyes, and I just don't think it looks any good at all. So in the end, Dragoon might be inconsistent in that way, just out of necessity, but I think I'm okay with that. I guess this is another argument in favor of making their eyes stickers. That's something I consider doing with Dragoon, and with Dragoon it would be beneficial because I could actually make the majority of his eye white, just like the others, and then his eyes would be defined by their pupils, just like they are in the show, realistically. But for now, I think the gray eyes are just fine. I really like the sculpting going on here, and like I said, I have a base for the body here with a lot of different connection points so that when I continue this project later on, I have a lot of options going forward. You can see that the neck is able to go up and down, but also left and right. There is a jointage system internally, with a gap inside so that it can allow movement. And honestly, this was a bit more of a headache than it seems like. And ultimately, I'm actually not sure if I'm going to go ahead with it because it does use kind of an illegal ratio in here, something that doesn't quite line up the way it should, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. So here are the internals of the mechanism. You can see the hinge in which it uses to go up and down, and then the pivot that it uses to go left and right. But because of the way I had to line everything up, you can see a brick at the bottom and its ratio with a brick on top of it where the studs face down. And because of the Lego logo on those studs, they're actually technically isn't enough room for those to fit together. Now, you can cheat it. You can sandwich everything together tightly to the point where it doesn't matter, but that's still technically an illegal connection. And I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. This could be another situation where I just haven't found the more simple solution to this problem. But every single other attempt I tried just left things not lining up the way I want them to externally. I wanted the 4-stud connection at the back to be parallel with the surface it attaches to, if that makes any sense. And this was the best and really the only way I could think of doing that well. And it's still, not quite good enough considering the connection is illegal. And again, like I said, this happened with Dronzer before. Maybe there's a more simple solution I'm just not seeing. Maybe if you know the answer to this, you could send me an email or message me on Discord, and we could figure that out. But because of the way I needed to separate the neck from the head, to allow room for the jointage to work, I needed to do all this, and that's the reason it turned out like this. And I think it's okay, but I'd either like to find a more simple solution to this same problem, or just change the way his neck attaches to the body ultimately, because I've realized that while it's nice to have a left and right movement, it's not something that's especially necessary. I could just attach Drigger's head the same way I did my old Murasame Liger, where it just goes up and down and then also rotates. I don't really think he needs to move his head left and right a whole lot. I don't know. We'll see. Again, things might change when I continue this project, but for now, this is the way things are. On the next day, I headed to the LEGO store and picked up a set that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. So let's take a look at the Bone Demon. I've said it before, but Monkey Kid is one of my favorite LEGO themes of all time. I am particularly a massive fan of the cartoon show, and the White Bone Spirit is the main villain of the show, and this set represents that character, so I definitely needed to pick this up. Not only that, it's very appealing to me in particular because it's actually a combiner, a combining robot. It's a little bit more like a Megazord and less like a Transformer, but I am all about combining and transformation features, and this is a really good one. So the first component is this giant scorpion here, and this in particular, I love the way it's built. It's super solid and chunky and fun to handle. It has these big claws up front, of course, with the chains hanging off of it. I'm particularly impressed with the construction of the body and the tail, though. I had so much fun putting this together. The way all the pieces combine on the torso of this creature is just really clever, very cool. And then when you flip it around to the back, it has such an organic curvature to it with all these armored plates that go up the spine of the creature. It is so cool. I also love the legs on the back as well, and the way everything comes up into the stinger. This in particular absolutely blew me away when building it. You also have these smaller creatures that comprise the large robot. You have these like cauldron spiders that become its shoulder pads, and then this small drone spider that kind of becomes its skirt armor, I guess. And then the largest component is this tower or castle. Really, I think it's supposed to be like a mausoleum. It has the White Bone Spirit's casket, which plugs into the middle, which is a very cool feature. That actually ends up in the chest of the giant robot, which is a super cool motif. I think as a tower, it's a little bit clumsy. Obviously, it's a bit of a stretch, the transformation here, because it kind of does just look like the torso of a robot. But it tries a little bit with the ribs that fold down and everything like that. It's got the big flags that come down and some extra little bits that flip up, so there's a bit more of a transformation there, which is kind of cool. The White Bone Spirit herself can be seen in the middle there, inside the casket. I absolutely love this minifigure because this is probably my favorite character from the show. every single time she shows up, it is the coolest thing ever. She's just like genuinely unsettling and absolutely terrifying, and I love it. So I needed this minifigure in particular, and the rest of the set, I guess, is just the cherry on top of that. On the right here, you have this extra gate piece. You got some minions there guarding it, sort of like smaller bone spirits, I guess. They actually haven't shown up in the show yet. I wonder if they will in season 3. I'm really not sure how I feel about this gate, because it's an extra piece and you can see that the actual head of the mech attaches to it. But when you combine the giant robot together, you just pull the head off of that, plug it onto the main body, and sort of just toss the gate off to the side. If the gate actually integrated into the transformation, I'd feel better about that, but it doesn't. It's just an extra piece, and I kind of hate that. Now, I had a suspicion that there was a way around that something was possible that the box and the instructions were not showing you, and luckily I am completely right. You can actually detach the head from this gate and just plug it into the tower where it attaches in robot mode. It has this armature that actually flips back so you can store the head on the back of the tower, and it's totally bizarre to me that they have it remove and attach to a separate piece, because it almost seems designed to function this way. There's like a fin on top of the head that actually like slots into a channel on the back of the tower, as if it were meant to do this in the first place. Not only that, why would this armature flip all the way back like this if this weren't intended? It's strange to me that you have this extra like mausoleum gate piece. I'm probably just going to pull it apart, to be completely honest. Another kind of strange thing I want to mention is that you can see the swords of the combined mech just sort of hanging out back here. That's something you can see on all the product images. On the front and back of the box, you can see the swords behind the tower like this. But it's actually not mentioned anywhere in the instructions, and they don't actually peg in anywhere. They literally just prop up here behind the tower and are held in by gravity, and they wiggle around, and there's no way to actually solidify them, which I find just really, really bizarre. I would have preferred if they actually plugged in to the back of the tower, but that does not seem to be the case, and that's a very strange design choice. Either way, you combine the tower with the scorpion, plug the arms in, plug the shoulder pads in, the skirt armor, flip up the head, bring down the flags, and here is the Bone Demon. And I will say that I think this looks a lot better in person than it does in any of the promotional images. I think this set is very unphotogenic, especially on the box. I think the angle they have it shown at and the way they have its arms posed, it's a little bit unflattering. And so when I first saw this set revealed, I was kind of disappointed by its proportions and the way it looked, because they actually revealed this set after it appeared in the show. The animated version of this design appeared before they revealed what the actual set looked like, which really tempered my expectations, because it looks amazing in the show, and it's a lot bigger and beefier and honestly scarier than this, and so the set was kind of underwhelming to me. But I'll talk about that more in just a second. I will say, though, just in person, how massive and impressive this thing looks is really cool, and seeing it from all sorts of different angles, I appreciate the design choices put into this set a lot more, especially all of the thought put into the features, because the way this combines is extremely, extremely satisfying. It has Voltron vibes, the way everything like very tactily locks together, fits in place, large chunky masses sort of shift and come together in just super satisfying ways with great hand feel. The way this is designed is so solid and very, very satisfying. So I'm extremely happy about that. Another big draw of this set is that almost the entire thing here glows in the dark. This, I think, has the most glow-in-the-dark pieces of any set that has come before it, and this is extremely impressive as well. You charge this thing up with some daylight bulbs or a black light and flip off the lights. The entire thing radiates with this glow-in-the-dark light, and it is so cool. I tried to capture it best as possible on camera here, but in person, it is even more impressive. So here it is side by side with the Monkey King Warrior Mech. First of all, you could say I've taken the helmet of the Bone Demon and brought it down a little bit. You can take the white Bone Spirit and actually put her in the proper cockpit inside the casket in the chest, and that gives you room to bring down the head and make things a little bit more proportional, I feel. I think it looks a lot better this way. Either way, these two sets are clearly meant to go together. They're clearly meant to complement one another. You have the main hero mech versus the main villain mech, and they form the pillars of any Monkey Kid collection. And this was one of the main reasons I decided to take the plunge on this set, because I was on the fence for a long time until I finally saw a review that showed these two together, and I think they look amazing side by side. Because my experiences with these two sets are completely opposite. When they first revealed the Monkey Mech, I thought it looked absolutely amazing. I still think it looks absolutely amazing. This was before the show was even a factor. Of course, I loved the show the moment I saw it, and when the mech showed up there, I do think it looks cooler in the animation than it does in the set. However, my expectations didn't change at all because I saw that second, and the mech still looked incredible. When I decided to pick up the Monkey Mech, I was honestly disappointed with its construction. I think it's finicky in a lot of ways. I think structurally it's poorly designed in a lot of ways. It's not as solid as I wish it was. There's a lot of little cumbersome bits that annoy me, particularly the ankles, I think are not nearly as solid as they should be. And so overall, my experience with this set, while it looks amazing, was a little bit disappointing. However, with the Bone Demon, I saw it in the animation first. It looked amazing. And then when we got leaks for the set, I was super disappointed by the way it was executed in Lego. And then I started to see what they were trying to do with it. With the combination feature and everything, that got my attention again. That was very, very interesting. And then finally, when I saw these two side by side, I was sold on it. I decided to get it. But not until I started putting it together did I realize that this is just flat out a better set than the Monkey Mech. The way it's put together is so much more solid. I had such a better time building this than I did the Monkey, and I just think it's better designed, and it's a better purchase. It's more worth your money because of how much play value and just how solid this is as a product. I'm glad I have them both. They go really well together, and honestly, I still think the Monkey probably looks better overall, but the Bone Demon is clearly the superior toy. Another thing I like better about this set is the additional things it comes with. If you recall, the Monkey Mech came with an entire building. It came with like the noodle shop and an absolutely useless little bowl demon mech that didn't stand a single chance against the Monkey Mech. It came with like a Nimbus for the Monkey King. It came with like the Fruit Flower Mountain, like a little vignette that held the staff up. It came with all sorts of stuff. And while I liked it at the time, I ended up just taking most of it apart. Especially the noodle shop. I found that I just did not have space for it. And because of the nature of my building style, I don't know how many of those bricks I'm actually going to reuse. I mean, somebody might. It might be useful to a lot of people. But for me personally, I feel like that was an addition to the set that really, really inflated the price. And it wasn't worth it to me in the end. This, however, comes with a couple of small things that don't inflate the price too much, and on top of that, there are some really, really good parts in here. So I am probably going to take this additional mech and all of the extra little accessories apart and just keep the Bone Demon put together, but the content of all of this extra stuff is so much better and so much less consequential overall to the price point. So I think it's a whole lot better on that front. This monkey mech here, this smaller monkey mech, is actually really, really cool. I love the design of this. I love the parts usage in the arms and in the legs. It looks really cool and it's pretty well built. For the most part, something I find really, really strange about this creation here, this addition, is that the piece used to attach his hips, it's like a Technic connector with 3 toe ball connections sticking off of it. And it would seem that they redesigned that part in the last year, because before, all of those toe ball joints had a gloss finish to them, and they're really, really solid. But for some reason in this set, that toe ball joint has a matte finish on all of the joints, and it's extremely, extremely loose. The hips on this monkey mech are actually floppy. Like, it has trouble standing up. And that is extremely surprising to me for a Lego set. They're usually so much better about quality control than that. And honestly, it's baffling to me that this clutch power and this tolerance made it past production and playtesting and quality control. It's kind of ridiculous. Now, if you do have the older version of the piece with the gloss finish on the ball joints, go ahead and replace that because it'll be a lot more solid. It is specifically that matte finish piece in this set causing the problem. And it's kind of disappointing and very, very strange. But like I said, I really like the design of this. It's got plenty of articulation. It looks really cool. I love like the little visor on the front of it. And I especially, like I said, like how the limbs are built. The legs in particular are really, really cool. You also get this upgraded version of May. I really like this minifigure. I think it looks super cool. I wish it represented anything at all that happens in the show. May does not actually wear her dragon power armor like in the show very much. She's worn her first version of the suit a couple of times when she gets on her motorcycle. Like, it's literally just a motorcycle suit. And so while this minifigure is really cool, the fact that it doesn't actually represent anything in the show so far makes it a little less desirable for me. But she does have like this upgrade with this extra gun weapon here that combines with her green dragon sword, and that's very cool. It's very tokusatsu. Mei has always looked like a tokusatsu hero, like a Super Sentai Ranger or a Kamen Rider to me, and this is just like a mid-season upgrade. It's very fitting, and I like that a lot. You also get a bunch of extra little things here. You get some extra legs for the white bone spirit, and like, she's never actually used anything like this or assumed a form like that in the show, and I like her printed dress piece like so much better, so I'm probably never gonna use this. You get another Monkey King staff, but interestingly, you also get this enlarged Monkey King staff, which I really, really like. In the show, I mean, the staff can grow, it can shrink, it does all sorts of stuff like that, and it's really cool that you have this just like slightly enlarged version of the staff for MK to hold. I wasn't expecting that, actually. I didn't notice it in any of the product images, and so I got a kick out of that when I started putting it together. I think that's very clever. And then you get this extra little vehicle here, which has multi-purpose. Honestly, I find this very strange, the way it's executed. So in this mode here, you have these additional green dragon wings that attach to this main Nimbus assembly. And I guess the mech can ride this entire assembly, or maybe it could be a vehicle for Mei in particular. But basically, you pull these wings off and give them to Mei, and then the monkey mech rides just the Nimbus alone. But like, the fact that they combine at all while it's kind of a fun play feature and you can use your imagination as to how that works and why that happens, like, I just feel it's a little unnecessary and very strange. Like, they both fly already, so what really is the point of combining them together? Maybe they move faster, but then, like, one of them doesn't have the ability to fly anymore, so like what's the point? I don't know. The logic behind this play feature is confusing to me, but it's still pretty cool, and I do really like these additions despite the fact that I'm probably going to take them apart. Another thing I got free with purchase was a small promotional Adidas set. They recently released a larger Adidas sneaker, and so they're giving away like these little smaller sneakers at the Lego store. And so I got one of those, and it's a neat little parts pack. It's got a lot of really cool parts in it, but it also came with a minifigure that has one of these mascot torsos, and I wanted to do something kind of interesting with it, something a little bit outside the box. So I created this guy here using kind of a friction connection in his mouth, using grills to form his teeth. I took some of the Ultra Agent robot arm minifigure pieces and attached those to the body to give him these like mecha legs. Another thing the set came with were those little golden microphones, so I used those as the eyes. Here it is from the back. You can see where the head would attach. I added a tail. I tried to use a lot of these metallic silver parts out of necessity because metallic silver was added to the color scheme thanks to those Ultra Agent robot arm pieces. You can see it's like a mecha walker raptor creature, and initially I wanted to give it two small little claws here using these blue feather pieces. It turns out I only have one of them, so I had to do something a little bit different with the other arm, and I gave him this like robotic blaster there, just because I didn't have the parts to make him symmetrical, but I guess thematically it works out alright. He's a cool little guy, but nothing super special. On the next day, I had a random thought. I had this idea of braiding Lego chains together and seeing what I could do with that. So here are just 3 chains braided together into a larger mass. I think this concept is pretty cool, and I think it has a lot of different applications. Something that I did with it in particular was I took 4 chains and braided them together and then doubled up on them to create the beard of this small bust here, like an old man character full of hair here, and he's got a very large beard made up of those chains. I think it looks pretty cool, and I think it gets the idea across well enough. I didn't want to build, like an entire character out of this. I was just sort of proving the concept here. You can also see I used those smaller bull horns as the mustache. He's got grills all over the place for his hair. I was running short on the dark bluish gray quarter slices there, so I just used black, so he's got kind of salt and pepper hair, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, a simple little build that just sort of proves a concept. On the last day of the week, while watching the original Beyblade, I pondered the idea of how I would approach doing all the various upgrades of each of the Sacred Beast Beyblades. Specifically Dragoon. I'm about halfway through the 2nd season. Tyson just got a new Beyblade, and I thought to myself, like, how would I go about doing that if I were to pursue the concept? So I came up with the next 3 evolutions of Dragoon, and I think they're okay. I'm not, like, as happy with them as I am with the first one, I don't think. But it is a proof of concept, and if I wanted to colorize these appropriately, I think they would be serviceable. I don't know if I'm going to do this for all of the other Blade Breaker Beyblades, but this is just to kind of give you an idea of what that might look like and how different they might be. So you got, of course, Dragoon S on the left, then the next evolution is Dragoon F, and then Dragoon V, and Dragoon V2. These are just his Beyblades up through the 2nd season. He has a few more in Season 3, which Well, I haven't got there yet. I haven't watched up to that point yet. So maybe once I get to season 3 in my rewatch, I'll attempt Dragoon G, GT, and maybe Hard Metal System. We'll see. That would be completely different structurally than all of the ones that came before it. So I don't know about that one, but so far, this is what I've got, and I tried to make them as distinct from one another as possible. That was what I was hesitant about in the beginning. I think I even mentioned this back when I first built Dragoon S. I wasn't sure if I was able to make all of the upgrades distinct enough. I tried my best to do that. This is what I came up with. You can see that the first two have very similar blade bases, and the second two have very similar blade bases, which is quite similar to the way the Beyblades actually are structured. Dragoon F has a different tip in red, and the same is true for V and V2. They have very similar blade bases, with distinct tips, and so I captured that by making them all multicolored. Functionally, they're all quite similar, though, just because of the way this version of a Lego Beyblade works. It's not high performance, obviously. It doesn't shoot from a launcher. These aren't meant to battle quickly and effectively. It's just for looks, for the most part, just like before and just like always. So here is Dragoon F. Dragoon F has kind of more rounded blades on the attack ring. It also has these distinct red circles and an extra like little lower red attack ring beneath it. If I were to finish this creation, the black pieces around the attack ring would be blue. There's a significant amount of blue that is supposed to be on this attack ring. I just don't have these parts in blue at the moment. Next up is Dragoon V. This is probably my favorite of these 3 additional ones I've made. I just think shape-wise, it's the most accurate, looks the best maybe. This blade base is a lot taller, which is appropriate. It should be. And I think it looks really, really good. Because of the added mass of this blade base, it actually spins a lot better than the 2 iterations that come before it. So that's nice. But yeah, here is Dragoon V, and then Dragoon V2. Now, this is the one I actually started building. I started with this one and then filled in the gaps in between S and V2. Because this is the Beyblade that Tyson has in the movie. I'm more nostalgic for the Beyblade movie than I am any other piece of Beyblade media. So I wanted to build his Beyblade from the movie. And so I built this one first. I think it's okay. I used these curved slope pieces for the attack ring as well as the little blue teeth here. All of those black slopes would end up being orange. And that's all it needs, I think, to be complete. It has kind of an asymmetrical look to it with red on one half of it and white on the other half of it. That is just how it is. If I were to complete this Beyblade, it would have a black weight disc as well. And they do actually make this gear piece in black. It's quite rare. It's a few dollars on Bricklink. It's kind of expensive. I don't know if I want to go ahead and invest in that for this. But it was an idea I had. It was a concept I wanted to prove. It's just something I needed to put to bricks. And so I did it. I don't know if I'm going to complete this project and have 4 standalone Beyblades by the end of it. Maybe, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 Dragoons at least, once all is said and done. I don't know if I need that many Dragoons in my life, let alone that many of all of the Blade Breakers Beyblades. I think I'm good just having the S versions in my Lego collection, but this was a fun avenue that I got to pursue. Just a heads up, my uploading schedule for Builder's Block is probably going to shift around in the next couple of weeks. I'm thinking about trying a new approach so that I can make more time for other things without having to grind the show to a screeching halt like has happened previously. I'll talk a little bit more about it next week, but until then, special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, especially my leader class patrons, Valraven, Beyond the Brick, Beta, and Eric. This has been Rollout, signing off.